Good evening. I would like to call to order the Monday, May 1st, 2023 meeting of the Wilson School Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the pledge to the flag. Our first item this evening is under communication, so I would like to welcome Mrs. Joni Lefevre, Director of Special Education, who will introduce the presentation about our unified track team.
The unified track, but before I have our presenters come up, I'd like to explain that this started back in January. I think it was actually the very end of January, where a small group of us, Drew Kaufman, Dan Weber, the high school principal, Monica Lawrence, and Andrew Boll, 2 of our high school teachers, and myself met with Special Olympics. And at that meeting, we had to sit and discuss if we were going to really move forward with this, because at the very end of January, the competitive season started in April. So as a team, we gave Monica and Andrew, we're like, take the weekend and think about this. Well, I think it took them about 3 minutes, and they decided that this was something that they wanted to do. So we are so grateful and appreciative from the amount of work and time that they put into this, to thank the high school teachers, the administration, our wonderful Wilson families, and our students, because this has really turned into a fantastic event, and we're so proud of our athletes. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Mr. Andrew Boll, one of our special ed high school teachers and unified track coach.
Good. Hey, thank you everybody for letting me do this. It's really an honor. But first, thank you to not only Mrs. Lefevre and Dr. Weber, but Mr. Kaufman, who really put everything together for us, handling the meets, handling the transportation, everything we needed to get the season underway. And a special thank you to all our parents of our athletes for letting us coach your children. It's been an absolute pleasure. And then all of our track meet volunteers, we had a meet last week, and it just went flawlessly. But first, I do want to thank our students and athletes who participated. So we have Zachary Newen, John Dale Corrales, Leonardo Garcia, Jameer Davis, Sarah Asplin, Chelsea Taylor, Emma Taylor, Spencer Kep, Logan Kurzwig, Natalie Leone, Samuel Wall, Derek Reiniger, Ryan McMillan, Madeline Green, Ken Elias Rodriguez, Madison Fields, and Will Rapley. They really made this season something special. What Unified Sports is, it joins people with and without intellectual disabilities on the same team. And it has a simple principle. Training together and playing together is a quick path to friendship. And this was evident last week versus Manheim Township. I don't know how many times we'd see our athletes actually hug each other at the end of the meet, take a photo op together, and look forward to competing again. But I would like for you to hear from our athletes themselves. So first, I'd like to welcome Chelsea Taylor.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Taylor. I have 1 more year at Wilson. I love doing unified track. At the first practice, Miss Lawrence and Mr. Bull asked me to try to run the 400. I did, and I didn't even stop. I am a member of chorus, theater, and the swim team. Doing unified track gives me the chance to do another sport for Wilson. Thank you for allowing us to do unified track.
And Logan Kurzwig.
Hello, my name is Logan Kurzweg. I'm in 11th grade. Along with Unified Track and Field, I play football and wrestle. As a member of the football team here at Wilson, Friday nights are some of the most important and fun nights of my life. I think everyone should have a chance to feel that excitement. With the Unified Track team, we're helping kids experience that feeling who otherwise might never have. My experience with Mr. Bull and Ms. Lawrence have been awesome. They've helped us put together a competitive team while still making every event enjoyable for everyone. The whole Wilson community was involved at our home meet against Mannheim. Sports teams took time out of their practices, the cheerleaders and marching bands showed up, and people from the community filled the stands with signs, all to support our athletes. Unified Track and Field not only provides an opportunity for kids to experience competition, but also the camaraderie that goes along with being on a sports team. Every child deserves to feel a part of something special, and Unified Track allows us to give them that opportunity. Thank you for your time.
And finally, we just want to say thank you to the Wilson School District. I know Ms. Lawrence and myself, we couldn't do it without your support. So thank you very much.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say I think it's great how you integrated the entire school community, had the marching band, this other sports team, the cheerleaders. I think that's a true spirit of Wilson, and a fantastic job on pulling it all together. So great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, and special thank you to Mrs. Lawrence and Mr. Bowl for volunteering their time to take on this endeavor. And like you said, Mr. McRae, kind of throwing it together. It was a very short time frame. It's just very impressive, and I'm really proud that we have our unified track team, and possibly next year bocce is also an option. So they just did this as a trial and see where it goes from there. So thank you to everyone involved. Mr. Moravich, do we have a solicitor's announcement?
Not other than the public participation.
Okay, and we do have an item for public participation.
So we have one on agenda item, so I'll read the rules now. Individuals attending the meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Public comment is not question and answer, but instead is an opportunity to offer comment on matters that are or may come before the board. In particular, personnel or student matters may not be commented on, even if the employee, parent, or student is speaking, because of confidentiality laws. As it relates to questions, the superintendent may assign an administrator or may speak directly to the speaker after the meeting to attempt to answer those questions. The board respectfully requests that you direct your comments to the board as a body, as it's the entire board that will need to consider your comments for future votes. Clapping, calling out, and cheering is not permitted, nor are conversations in the audience. Individuals may not approach the board tables. Individuals should make their comments from the lectern. The comments are 3 minutes, and I will try to provide a sign that you have 1 minute left without interrupting you. Any person making threat of violence may be removed from the meeting or cited by local police, and these expectations are outlined in Board Policy 903, which is on board docs embedded within the website.
Thank you, Mr. Moravich. For our agenda item, public participation, we have Chastity Santiago, agenda item 3, payment of bills.
I just have some questions about a check that was written on April 25th, 2023, in the amount of $11,666.67. It seems, as I was going through, these funds were paid to an organization called Communities in Schools of Eastern PA. I did some research, and, I looked it up, and when I was looking at the website, there was something that struck me that was a little concerning. The organization's DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion commitment statement includes the following. It challenges the influence of white supremacy culture to help uplift all in our CIS family in their work. So my question here is not related to the funds and the payment. I understand they're coming from the ESSER and CARES funds after I looked back at the agenda and the attachments. However, my question is, we contracted with these guys before, in 2020 and 2021. What results came out of that contract that would really want us to renew, that we had to renew with this organization, if that could be shared with us? And then what are the expectations that we're expecting to net from this current contract that goes a 3-year span in the amount of $500,000 by the time we're done? This will help me understand why we chose to partner or be associated with an organization that has such a negative view of my fellow community members. I myself am not white. However, I do take issue with that because I don't see my fellow community members as white supremacists. But the payment of this check sends a clear message on how this district views its residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That is the end of agenda-related public participation. The board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters. First item for vote, 2.1, request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on April 17th, 2023. Mr. Ravitch, do you have a comment?
I have a comment about this, Sue. After reviewing last week, sorry, I turned it off. I had it on, I apologize. After reviewing the voting on at the last meeting, item 2.1, which was item 12.1, which was referring to the accepting of bids from the IU, referenced both the 2023-24 school year, which would be the appropriate one, would be this upcoming year, and also last year. So I'll read some language here, but the request is so that you adopt the minutes reflecting that it's the correct year of 2023-2024. So they would be to request approval of the minutes of the school board meeting held on April 17th, 2023, as amended to reflect that 12.1 regarding accepting fuel bids is referring to the 2023-2024 school year. Just a motion, a second on that.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion for the amended approval of minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills, 3.1, request to approve the payment of bills as presented. Oh, sorry, Mr. Negrini, two meetings in a row. I don't know.
That's all right. Motion to approve the payment of bills from the general fund in the amount of $1,296,559.98 as attached.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. Do we have a second?
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about this invoice that was brought to our attention. Can we get an update into our weekly board update, exactly how that process worked, who approved it, and just a general overview of this program?
Sure thing, Mr. Martin.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, having a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Superintendent's report this week is really focused a lot on bringing forth a lot of new teammates here to the Wilson School District. As it's always the case, in the items 4.1 through as far as it needs to go, this is a lot of the employment shifts that we have throughout the organization. So this particular time, I'd like to call our attention to the change in status, 4.4. These are folks who are currently working in our organization and who have committed their time to helping us achieve our mission, working with children in a variety of different capacities. So it's spelled out here, again, every single board meeting, to show our desire to have people have different career pathways, promotion opportunities, different job opportunities that more align with their areas of passion. Today, I'm exceptionally proud and honored to present the folks that are at the very bottom of 4.4. As many of them are here with us today. So I'm just going to ask any of our new educators, even if you're not on here, I believe there might be one or two that's in a later section of the agenda. If you will be joining our team next year as a contracted educator, could you please stand? So real quick, I'm going to embarrass you. I know many of these folks personally. Our leadership team knows them. Many of the folks that are standing have been here, like I said, throughout the school year, and they've impacted kids, they've impacted our leadership team, our community, our parents, in such an important way that they've earned a contract within the Wilson School District. And this is not an easy feat. This is a place that we believe is a destination, a place where people want to work. We also understand that because of your skill set, your temperament, your disposition, your love of kids, you can work anywhere you would like to work. So we're very proud that you chose this school district and very proud that you're going to be impacting kids' lives here, hopefully for a long time. So again, on behalf of the district and our Board of Education, congratulations, and I wish you the best for some of you, first month of May in the school district, and for others, perhaps your second. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Looking for a motion to approve Superintendent's Report 4.1 through 4.7 as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under consent
Mrs.
items.
Cocker.
Oh, yes. Mr. Hart.
Just want to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you who earned a contract, those that are here tonight, those that weren't able to make it. Welcome to Wilson, welcome back to Wilson, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Under consent items, request to accept with gratitude the following donations towards the purchase of outdoor AED devices and weatherproof housing units from Van Reed Vanguards Football Association, $1,000. From Wilson Lacrosse Club, $5,000. From Lincoln Park Football Association, $2,609. From Wilson Junior Soccer Club, $5,000. The outdoor AED units will be installed at various strategic locations across our campus athletic fields for access by district coaches and athletic trainers, as well as by youth sports organizations and other community members throughout the year. Second, from Just Between Friends, a long list of supplies to be used in the special education department classrooms. Third, 2 $100 gift cards from Glad Tidings Church to be used for staff appreciation. And last, 3 signed copies of Alan Gratz's books, Ban This Book, 2 Degrees, and Prisoner B, for each middle school library from Dr. Amy Kennedy. Looking for a motion to approve items for 5.1.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I would like just to take a minute to give, obviously, everyone on this list that donated items to our district. We're very appreciative, but especially our youth athletic associations for contributing to the AED machines, because it won't just assist our own athletics as well as theirs, but also the community as a whole. So let's say you're going for a walk on one of our paths near our schools and you come upon someone or you yourself have an emergency. The devices are available for anyone in the community to access. You just call 911. They'll give you the code for the machine and instructions on how to use it. So it's really a whole community contribution. So I just wanted to give an extra thanks to those groups for their very generous contributions to this cause. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under Human Resources, 6.1, request approval of the updated job descriptions for IT, special ed, and staff accountant. 6.2, request authorization for the superintendent to make employment commitments to qualify applicants for the purpose of filling vacancies that occur after the May 1st, 2023 board meeting, with action to be ratified by the school board at the next official meeting. Looking for a motion to approve student services agenda items 6.1 and 6.2 as presented.
Hart.
Mr. Hart, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Mrs. Casper?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Mr. Hart's comment and congratulate and welcome all of our newest Bulldogs to our staff, to our professional staff, and welcome back to those that have been here. So, and I also want to recognize Matt Bender, who's in a fairly new role in HR, and his team and our entire leadership team for their diligence in being able to move a lot of these hires forward very quickly. So I thank you for all of your extra work in the last few weeks to be able to get this undertaking and to be able to welcome all of our new folks. So, welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, we have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Student Services, 7.1, request permission to contract with Cottage 7 for one special education student for ESY 2022-23 at a cost of $125 per day or $2,500 for the full ESY term, pending solicitor review and approval. 7.2, requested permission to contract with the Vista School for 2023 extended school year services for one special education student at a cost of $9,203.46, beginning July 6, 2023, and ending on August 10, 2023. 7.3, request approval to issue a request for proposals for special education legal services effective July 1st, 2023, as attached. Looking for a motion to approve Student Services Agenda Items 7.1 through 7.3 as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Technology and Media, 8.1, request approval to purchase 80 86-inch new line interactive displays to replace Promethean boards in the district using capital funds for a total cost of $215,600 as attached. 8.2, request approval to enter into a 36-month lease with Dell Financial Services for 6th grade student Dell Chromebooks beginning 7/1/23 at an annual cost of $68,836.82. And 8.3, request approval to enter into a 48-month lease with Dell Financial Services for elementary school teacher computers and 9th grade student Chromebooks beginning 7/1/23 at an annual cost of $118,770.33. Looking for a motion to approve Technology and Media Agenda Items 8.1 through 8.3 as presented.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
I saw Mr. Martin first, sorry.
Okay.
It's a race. Mr. Martin, thank you. Any discussion? I just have one comment. The Promethean boards that are being replaced, I've been out of teaching for almost 10 years, and they were put in when I was still teaching, like early in my career, so they definitely need to be replaced. So that's probably close to 15, 20 years. So they've lived their life, and they've done what they needed to do. So I thank you to our technology group for working on that.
Chalkboards last about 100 years.
I'm sure there are some to be found hidden behind bulletin boards. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Operations, request permission to contract with All American Athletics to complete resurfacing at Spring Ridge Elementary School gym at a cost of $16,800. 9.2, request approval of an updated contract with Illuminated Integration LLC for upgrades at the Southern Middle School auditorium in the amount of $263,882.27. 9.3, request approval of an updated contract with Illuminated Integration LLC for upgrades to the West Middle School auditorium in the amount of $29,919.31. 9.4, request permission to contract with Republic Services for trash removal services from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025. 9.5, request permission to purchase district art supplies through the BCIU bid from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And 9.6, request permission to contract with the A.G. Morrow Company for painting at a cost of $57,185 and doors $88,195 at the lower house pending solicitor review. Looking for a motion to approve operation agenda items 9.1 through 9.6 is presented.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, for 9.2 and 9.3, they were on an agenda and approved by the board a couple meetings ago or last meeting. These are updated contracts. After further review of the contracts, the original contract didn't have performance and payment bonds included. So these are basically between the two contracts, it's about an extra $3,000 of actual addition. So it's not a whole new $300,000.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mr.
Real quick, I
Case.
just had a question about 9.2, 9.3. I know we're reapproving these, but what are they for? It doesn't state exactly what they're for. I know they were stated last time, but just for the public that may not.
They're for the auditorium sound system improvements at both, both middle schools.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on operations agenda items? Okay, having a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 10.1, request approval of the 2023-24 rates for behind-the-wheel driver education, $400 for 6 hours of training, includes license test, $70 for additional 60-minute training as needed, and $55 for no-show fee. Looking for a motion for 10.1.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Mr. Negrini, second.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
And just a quick aside, for behind the wheel, it's still Mr. Dries is the instructor. Anybody that drives with Mr. Dries is in for a very educational but fun time. He was my instructor when I learned to drive, and I believe there was a groundhog in the way when we were driving, and I was traumatized that I hit a groundhog, and he handled it beautifully and said, it's no big deal, this happens a lot, just keep driving, and I like to think that I'm an okay driver now because of him. So, thank you to Mr. Dries. Under Curriculum Staff Development, 11.1, request to approve the summer school credit recovery program for the 2023 summer session. Looking for a motion for 11.1.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Dr. Kennedy, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under childcare, 12.1, request approval of the childcare rates for the 7-week summer 2023 Berkshire Heights childcare program as attached. Looking for a motion for 12.1.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under policies, 13.1, final reading and adoption of the following new or revised policies: number 609, investment of district funds, and 616, payment of bills. Looking for a motion for 13.1.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Martin, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
And that brings us to our committee reports, BCTC, as well as Student Services. Mrs. Casper?
Yes, thank you, President Cocker. For BCTC, we met on Wednesday, April 26th at the West Campus. We got an update on the NASA Hunch program, and students from our Precision Computerized Machining Technology program completed 6 handrail tube fixtures and mailed them to NASA on March 28th. All of the feedback from NASA was positive, and the students get to see their finished products in the NASA spacecrafts. So this is a really wonderful opportunity for all of our students at BCTC in this program. And the public can actually follow the students' progress on the handrails through social media on BCTC. A couple of upcoming events I wanted to make note of is, the first is our first-year students and their parents and guardians are encouraged to attend the BCTC's new student orientation, which is scheduled this year for May 3rd and 4th at 6 p.m. The orientation will be held in the students' program area and provides an opportunity for our incoming students to become familiar with the program and their lab that they will be working in. Students and their families will gain an opportunity to meet with their instructors and learn about life at BCTC. They'll receive information for a smooth transition into career and technical education. They'll have an opportunity to speak with the counselors and the Student Services Department, and they'll get a chance to get organized before school starts by purchasing textbooks, tools, and uniforms. Also coming up on May 30th at 6:30 in the Berks Career and Technical Center's the Berks Career and Technical Center Senior Recognition Ceremony. So students and their families can find more information about these on the BCTC website. I'd like to recognize the following students for receiving honors in the last grading period. 10th grader Iranilis Sanchez Nieves for sports medicine and rehabilitative therapy. 10th grader Ava Rhodes for auto collision repair and technology. 11th grader Hunter Krager for automotive technology. 12th grader Sarah Orender for cosmetology. 12th grader Gyarilis Camacho for culinary arts. 10th grader Allie Kaufman for early childhood education technology. And 10th grader Nairobi Barker Crimmins for culinary arts. I'd also like to congratulate 12th graders Danielle Klar and Caleb Gustafson, both for winning awards in the culinary arts at the FCCLA Leadership Conference in March. Danielle was awarded the silver medal in the pastry and baking event and also won $2,000 toward a renewable scholarship to the Culinary Institute of America. Caleb took home the gold medal in culinary arts, so congratulations to those seniors. And then finally, the following students placed first in their respective programs at the Skills USA Leadership and Skills Conference earlier this month. Braden McCraw, Trevor Bilodeau, and Jake Dougherty. And then Edward Lawrence placed second. Congratulations to all those students. That's my report. Our next meeting is May 24th at the East Campus, and I have no report for Student Services.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Dr. Schickett?
Yes, Mrs. Casper triggered a thought I had earlier today. The BCTC combined with the Reading Muhlenberg VOTEC and ran their first decision day. Today, May 1st, typically marks the National Decision Day, where senior students kind of declare what their plans are post high school. And Jake Dougherty was actually one of the students who volunteered to be a part of the ceremony. It was beautiful. It was at RAC at the Performing Arts Center. Just wanted to share a couple takeaways from there. I have my Instagram pictures up. I'm not sure what that's called. Feed. I have my Instagram open. Jake Dougherty was Wilson High School student. Obviously, is a Wilson High School student. Great kid, focusing on video and media content production, and has decided to go to Penn State University to continue his studies next year. Caden Freitag, automotive technology, is enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. and they honored him today as well. The recruiter was there, as well as some other folks to recognize him, and the other folks who are joining different branches of the service. Another student, Rogan Hartman, is studying horticulture, is going to continue his studies at Penn State University, I believe the Berks campus. And then Ruveen Radell is a mechatronics engineering technology student, and he will be continuing his education at Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics. While the students that I highlighted, 3 of them are going to go on for post-secondary formalized education at a university. 1 is going to pursue different career paths throughout military branch of service. Many of the students that were recognized today have contracts to go directly into the workforce. East Penn Manufacturing, some of the local salons, Lords and Ladies is the one that's in my mind, is working with our different career centers to give kids employment paths right out of the school. Just a really proud moment for these students and their families, as you know, all of our goals is to have children one day that are employable. And I feel really good that these 4 students are on a really good path. So I just wanted to add that in, Mrs. Casper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, BCIU and Curriculum Committee, Dr. Kennedy.
Thank you very much. We had a very busy BCIU meeting. There are 3 things that I would like to highlight from that meeting. First, Mrs. Danielle Berger from Kutztown Area School District was named the 2023 Annie Sullivan Award. We congratulate her, even though she's not from Wilson. But I do want to mention that our Mrs. Allison Poplaski is a social worker in our district, and she was nominated, and I want to say congratulations to her. The second thing that I wanted to mention is that the BCIU is hosting a Berks County Transition Coordinating Transition Expo for students with disabilities. So students who are 21 and are not in the public school anymore, here's information about what they can do, they can do post-secondary, where they can live, financial planning, and all kinds of things. It's up on the BCIU website. The last one is our academic challenge team. I hope I'm not stealing this from anybody else, but our academic challenge team it won the whole thing, and they are in the playoffs now. They beat Mifflin in the finals, which just makes it even better. So congratulations to Coach Magala and the Wilson academic team, Zach Konzeman, Kofi Anoki, Addie Nayak, Sindhura Sridhar, Blakely, and the only other Blakely I've ever heard of, Blakely Deutschman, Nathan Stein, William Cochran, and Chase Mitzsteifer, and they are from 9th through 12th grade, so it looks like we have some kids in the pipeline to maybe have a couple repeats. And that's BCIU. The curriculum committee met on last Wednesday. We talked about I mentioned this at the last meeting. We again talked about our 3rd grade event, Learning in the Wild, where there were stations set up at Shiloh Hills, and what a success it was, and how much we hope it continues next year. And thanking again our community partners, Penn State University Master Gardeners, Master Beekeeper, Berks Nature, and Berks Astronomical Societies. That was a great opportunity for our 3rd graders. As we approved today, we talked about the summer school credit recovery. It includes online and face-to-face options for our students. This year, the students will need to pay for classes. In the past 2 years, we've used the ESSER funds for that. We are going to be collecting data and tracking students who attend summer school. We talked about another opportunity for a dual enrollment. Dr. Cachufio presented the dual enrollment program through the Horn Entrepreneurship at the University of Delaware. This program would give students 3 college credits from the University of Delaware towards a business major. and we're looking to implement this program in the 24-25 school year. We reviewed the process for classroom libraries, how they pick books, the process is focused on giving students and parents the choice of books to read for literature circles and free choice reading. The books are discussed with students and parents to make sure the book is of the appropriate reading level and also that the content is appropriate. If parents or students do not feel comfortable with a book they self-selected, they have the option of choosing a different book for self-selected reading and/or literature circles. Sixth grade camp update, we're going back to the olden times. We're not having Camp Swatara anymore. We're going to Camp Conrad Weiser. You went to Camp Conrad Weiser. Yeah, I've never been to Camp Conrad Weiser. The year we started going to Swatara was my first year teaching. And it sounds like Camp Conrad Weiser was the unanimous choice, and they made a whole lot of upgrades. And I just think camp is one of the best things we could do for our sixth graders. So I'm excited to start a new chapter at Camp Conrad Weiser. Then we just had an update on Wilson Virtual Academy enrollments and our district opt-out numbers. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. Thank you. Extracurricular, I don't have a report since we didn't have a meeting since our last board meeting, but our next extracurricular committee meeting will be next Monday at noon in the admin building. Mr. Case, facilities.
Thank you. The facilities team committee did not have a meeting since our last board meeting, so there's no report there, but this is the busy time. Actually, every time's a busy time, but very busy time for the operations team, so I just want to wish them well in the last month of school as they prepare for all the events for our staff and students and community for the end of the year. Keeping everyone safe with all the fireworks that will be going off at graduation, et cetera, et cetera. So, thanks to the team for all that. The next meeting is June 12th on that Monday, 4:30 in the operations building.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. Negrini.
Thank you. I guess I'm officially old school since I went to Camp Conrad Weiser, so not that that's a news flash that I'm old school, but nonetheless. We had a presentation earlier today at our finance meeting from Scott Kramer at Raymond James to discuss our current situation with our 2021 Series C general obligation bonds. If everyone recalls, these were issued in June of 2021, where at the time we were able to capture a very low interest rate at 1.22%. However, given the nature of our borrowing at the time and then subsequently with issues with COVID, supply chain, and then ultimately the rejection of our bids for the Phase 1 feasibility project, we've been accumulating some interest on those particular bonds that certainly would exceed IRS requirements that ultimately would entail the district paying back money that exceeds that 1.22% arbitrage. So it's an opportunity for the district to look at what is known as slugs or state and local government securities that may allow the district to avoid having to pay back much of that interest. The reason being that those protocols are put in place by the IRS is to prevent government entities from taking out large obligation bonds for a specific construction project, ultimately not utilizing the money for those construction projects and using those funds and other interests for various different unplanned for projects. So at our next public meeting, there will be a presentation from Mr. Kramer about the state and local government securities opportunity that may ultimately result in the difference of instead of an estimated earnings of that particular current scenario of $532,824 to the district, that we could see a savings of approximately $1.7 million. So more will be discussed publicly on that. The Finance Committee did make a recommendation to move forward with the state and local government securities option as presented during the finance meeting. And certainly more thorough details, as I said, will be presented by Mr. Kramer at our next public meeting. We discussed the 23-24 Child Care Fund proposed budget, which will be voted upon at the next general meeting as well. There doesn't seem to be a big change in the budget from last year's budget. And finally, there was a presentation on the 23-24 proposed final general fund budget. It is being recommended at our next meeting that a 2.9% increase from the year previous. As everyone should be aware, this is just the proposed final budget. The final budget vote is June 19th. Some highlights of the presentation earlier today in the proposed general fund budget update shows revenues of $127.5 million, expenditures in the amount of $132.7 million, with an overall deficit of $5.2 million. To cover that deficit, $4.2 million in the PSERS committed fund balance. I believe we're currently showing approximately $19 million over time. The last couple of years, any surplus that the district has seen at the end of the year has been committed to the PSERS fund balance. So it is being recommended that 4.2 of that $5.2 million deficit be utilized in the budget. And what I found to be perhaps one of the most compelling slides in the presentation that will be utilized at the next meeting is that over the course of the last 3 years, from October 2018 through October of 2021, and certainly I think there'll be more information as we gather showing 2022 data, only 6 school districts in Berks County has had an increase in enrollment. Wilson happens to be in the top 3. There seems to be a trend of enrollment decreasing throughout the county, so that certainly has an impact on other neighboring districts in making decisions on their proposed and final budgets. So more to be presented at the next meeting as we vote on that, but it's certainly, as I mentioned the last meeting at our finance presentation, when you're seeing an increase in enrollment at Wilson, you're seeing an increase in special education costs, English language learner costs. All of those things factor into the challenging way of presenting a budget year after year here at Wilson. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. Legislative, Mr. Schneider.
So the General Assembly got back together last week, and what we're seeing is just some highlights here. Continued push to change the rules for charter schools and their funding, as their money comes directly from public school districts. Bills to address teacher shortages, different modes that we might be able to use to fill those slots. And then one of the more compelling ones was the continued push for no-cost meals for students. You may remember that the Department of Agriculture had provided those during the pandemic years. That ended this year. Governor Wolf instituted part of that back by making breakfast free, but there's a continued push to try and make both breakfast and lunch free to all students. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Human Resources, Mr. Hart.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Bender, the Human Resources Committee, and team, as well as the administrative team. Busy time of year for you, so keep up the great work, getting great hires, and keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Good evening. Lots and lots of great things happening here at Wilson, but I'm just going to spotlight a few. First, we're thrilled that the Wilson School District has been honored with the Best Communities for Music Education designation from the NAM Foundation for the second year in a row. The Best Communities for Music Education designation is awarded to districts that demonstrate outstanding achievement in efforts to provide music access and education to all students. Thank you to our music educators, students, parents, and community members who work together to ensure that every child has the opportunity to learn and grow with music. We're super proud of all of you. Next, we want to congratulate Wilson High School student Mary Brubaker, whose drawing, which is on the screen, her drawing is entitled Hands On. This drawing was awarded a gold medal and American Visions Award at the national level of the Scholastic Arts Award. As a result of Mary receiving this award, she's been invited to a series of workshops, a Carnegie Hall reception, and she's going to be exhibiting her work in New York City. So this piece of art actually has received multiple awards over the years, so we are so excited for Mary. This is a national level award, and that's a rare thing. So super proud of Mary and her amazing work. And speaking of all of our amazing students, music students and art students, it's that time of year, so our community is invited to join our talented Wilson musicians and artists at our upcoming musical concerts and art shows. It's a busy, busy May. We are so proud of the incredible students and teachers who have worked so hard this year to present their talents to our community. And as a reminder, all art shows and concerts are free and open to the community. Just to note that the high school art show is actually happening this Wednesday at 6 p.m. It is in the lobby of the auditorium, and you can see all the amazing artwork of our high school students. You will be blown away by their incredible talent. So we invite you to attend all of those art shows and concerts as they come up over the next few weeks. And then finally, over the past weekend, our 2023 Wilson High School National Honor Society inductees were inducted into Wilson's chapter of the organization. The ceremony took place in the high school auditorium, and many juniors and seniors were recognized for their academic achievement and honors. So congrats to all of those students who were inducted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case?
No report, but the next meeting's May 19th.
7:30 a.m., right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here.
Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
And Student Outreach, Ms. Danny Radosh.
Good evening. On April 25th, our unified sports teams had their first home meet for track and field, as Chelsea and Logan did a great job presenting. Last week, our Wilson field hockey team volunteered at the Baseball Town Charities Dream League, so thank you for your participation. And last weekend, musicians Adam Underwood, Alex Ferencik, Hayden Lonato, Owen Fick, Penn Hoffer, and Tanisha Barowit performed at the PMEA All-State Festival. I think that was at Kalahari. And congrats to the Wilson High School Reading Olympics team that placed third in the Berks competition. And congratulations to Sophia Lopez and Brennan Coate, who are fourth graders at Shiloh Hills, who recently won first and second place in this year's Crime Alert Berks County poster contest. And recently, our AP Environmental Science and AP Biology classes took an overnight trip to Wallops, Virginia to learn about coastal ecology, and it seemed like a really fun hands-on trip. In addition, this weekend was the One Acts Festival. So 12th grade students directed One Acts and were performed by students at the school, so great job on all your hard work. And this Wednesday, May 3rd, Student Government is hosting the School Board Candidate Forum here in this room. And the candidates will be asked an opening question, 2 topic-focused questions, and a closing question. And it will be moderated by a representative from the League of Women Voters. So please come attend or tune in on the live stream to hear more about our candidates. Don't forget the primary elections are on May 16th. And in addition, on Wednesday's food truck night at the Bulldog Field parking lot from 5 to 8:30 to support the class of 2023. So if you go to the candidate forum and you're hungry at the end, feel free to stop by and support. So thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Danny. Okay, Ms. Maravich, we do have public participation on non-agenda items.
Thank you. I'll try to make this briefer. Individuals attending the meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Public comment is not question and answer, but is instead an opportunity to offer comment on matters that may come before the board. The board respectfully requests that you direct your questions to the board as a whole, so it is the board as a whole that will need to vote on future matters. Clapping, calling out, or cheering is not permitted, nor are conversations. Individuals should not approach the board tables. Individuals should make their comments from the speaker's lectern. It's 3 minutes, and I'll provide a 1-minute warning. Any person making threats of violence may be removed from the meeting or cited by local police. These expectations are outlined in Board Policy 903, which is on board docs embedded within the website.
Thank you, Mr. Maravich. First, we have Andrea Hunter, book ratings/banning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Hunter. I am a Wilson graduate and parent and have been a children's librarian for the public library for 20 years. I am here to encourage you to vote no to implementing a system of rating for books, to support intellectual freedom by trusting your children to read books chosen by their teachers, librarians, and themselves, and to refrain from removing books from classrooms and libraries. I'd like to remind everyone that we currently have a strong system in place that works in terms of determining the appropriateness of books for children and youth. They're called teachers and librarians. As parents, we have every right to determine if a book is not a good fit for our own child, but we should not be waging wars against one another to determine what is appropriate for another person's child, let alone an entire classroom or library. As parents, our input is of value, but it should not discredit the work of professionals. At Wilson, all parents have the ability to opt their child out of assigned reading with no penalty. I encourage you to utilize that if you see fit. Incorporating a rating system for books puts barriers in place and teaches kids that books are obstacles. This has an impact on young children as they learn to explore and navigate library collections, but it wields the most power over teens. We consider teenagers responsible enough to drive cars, hold jobs, process threats of school violence, juggle academics, activities, and relationships, and navigate their entire educational paths after high school. And yet, we do not regard them as capable enough to read books about experiences or even take their input into account when making decisions on their behalf. Books don't make kids gay, they don't make children victims or oppressors. We have become terrified of our children being exposed and influenced by things that we find unfamiliar or uncomfortable. But it's not our job to tell children who they should become. It is our responsibility to love and celebrate them as they are, and to show them all the ways that they have purpose and worth and that they belong in this world. Children need books to help them understand the world as well as one another. We all do. Books are compasses, stories are flashlights. Please stop taking away the batteries. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jennifer Denny, school safety.
Good evening. Tonight I'd like to talk about school security, but I'd like to look at it from a slightly different perspective than we've been hearing. It's an issue that's been brought up a lot, not just at Wilson School Board, but at school board meetings across the country. So many meetings, in fact, and with such a similar talking points, that it appears that there's an attempt to create a national narrative that our schools are dangerous, that our students are undisciplined and need to have harsh consequences, and that our administrators and school boards are unwilling or unable to address it. And so outside concerned citizens need to come in with new and novel safety plans to address this that have harsh consequences. I can and I won't speak to other districts, but the fact is that the data and the reality at Wilson doesn't support this dystopian view. Our district already has a detailed safety plan It was created by experts with input by all concerned community members and is based on best practices. It is constantly being tweaked. Dr. Trickett just spoke on this in a video that got published recently. And in fact, the recent swatting incident tested our emergency response capabilities and proved that while no school can guarantee there will never be a school shooting, Wilson is as prepared as it can be for this worst-case scenario. But the reality is that having a safe and secure campus is a much broader and more amorphous issue than just school shootings. Our school statistics indicate that the majority of issues facing Wilson teachers and students are basic day-to-day issues like bullying, assault, destruction of properties. Yes, these are serious incidences and need to be addressed, but our incident numbers are comparable with other similarly situated districts. There will always be issues that need to be addressed. As a former prosecutor, I believe in law and order. I believe in consequences for actions. As a parent, I believe it is our duty to teach our children responsibility and accountability for their actions. But harsh and punitive measures that do not consider the total student or that do not seek to identify and resolve any underlying issues that led to the behavior in the first place do not empower the student to make different and better choices in the future. In a school district with over 6,000 students, issues will arise, especially in the middle and high school with teenage students who are full of hormones and with brains where the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. That's the part of the brain that controls decision-making, and it doesn't form until about 25. In other words, from a child development perspective, good decision-making needs to be taught because it is not yet innate, very much like we teach math and science and history. Other physiological factors that can influence decision-making are learning disabilities, neurodivergent status, and mental health issues. Students' behavior is also impacted by home and life issues that they bring to school with them. If you apply nationwide averages to Wilson's student population, we have approximately 1,000 students that live in poverty, 720 who live in homes with substance abuse, and nearly 500 who have experienced sexual abuse. There's also societal factors to consider, like the fact that the behavioral baseline in our country has devolved. Children learn what they live, and what they're learning right now is that adults in the community are quick to anger and slow to kindness and civility. Frankly, there are few places that has been more obvious than in this boardroom.
Thank you for your comments. Chastity Santiago, student expectations.
Okay. First, I want to start off, I want to applaud the young ladies in our Wilson softball team this weekend. I saw a video. Those young ladies were not willing to play ball until after the playing of our national anthem, even if they had to sing it themselves. So to those parents, I say you've done such a great job, and to those wonderful ladies, you made this community very proud. Second, I want to thank the members of this community who reached out to me after hearing me speak last week at the on the 17th at the last school board meeting. I appreciate your kind words, and I'm extremely overwhelmed by the sheer number of messages I received in support. So let's begin. The word diversity means the inclusion of different types of people, as in people of different races and cultures in a group or organization. So one must reasonably extrapolate that different types of people doesn't mean just black or white. So I can't help but ask, what about Hispanics and Asians that make up 30% of this student population here at Wilson? What makes their causes more worthier than ours? And do you realize how ignoring these children hurt that carries? Here's what the data shows. The Asian parents, the climate survey results, scored the lowest with Asian parents in this district. Hispanic community member climate scores were the lowest of all races in this district, which are different than the parent scores. Prior to 2017, 30% of Hispanic 7th graders were proficient in math. Now it's 8. That is 8 out of every 100 students, Hispanic students. 63% of Hispanic 3rd graders were reading at a 3rd grade level. Now it's 37%, 37 out of 100. Hispanic English language arts proficiencies dropped to 19%. Math, Algebra 1 proficiencies dropped 21%. Asian math, Algebra 1 proficiencies dropped 28%. But yet the graduation rates for Hispanics has increased 7%. Graduating these teens that are not proficient in reading, writing, or basic math is anything but beneficial to themselves or society as a whole. We're worried about books and diversity, but what does it matter if these children can't read? Where is the conversations or concern for these items? Or is it just the low expectations for these students? The lack of concern is reinforcement of the racist idea that these students are somehow intellectually and academically inferior. When you expect less of people, it tells them you think less of them. The Hispanic community has a chance to change this for their children. We can send the message that our children's performance and future matters and not just our places in that chair for diversity. Data shows our performance dropped when the new members came on board that are seeking re-election, Casper and Snyder. Data shows our children flourishing under Martin and Hart, and I would say Negrini, but you're not running again, and I'm very sad about that. So, our children's success is with Martin and Hart and the removal of Casper and Snyder. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Tammy Keener, comments on last board meeting.
Hi, good evening. I want to bring up a subject that will most likely upset the ladies on the board. I don't know how the public feels about it, but I'm disgusted, and I'm tired of hearing your personal agendas. Ms. Kennedy, stop pushing your books. These are our children, and we are parents and grandparents. Will decide when it's appropriate to introduce sex to our children, not you, or this school should be doing this. You might feel it is okay for your child, but that doesn't give you the right to decide it's okay for our children. At the last school board meeting, we sat here and listened to you for 20 minutes push your agenda on these books. Your personal influence does not belong in a board meeting. Ms. Cocker, your personal activities, we really could care less. We need to see improvement in our children's education. Ms. Casper, you two spent a lot of time on making sure politics was once again brought into the board meeting. You can tell you're up for re-election, but you can't seem to do your own job on the board. You make your committee meetings. I think this was the second report you've had in 5 months. Yet in Christmas, all you were concerned about was getting your little gift and your fancy dinner. What happened to the Southern Middle School is that it's on a targeted support improvement program from the state after the last testing. However, West, which is the same curriculum as Southern, is not. What is the difference in these two schools? I might ask all of you. Seems to me several of you on the board meeting should devote more time of your time and energy into reversing the continued decline in the value of the Wilson education versus using time wasted glorifying yourselves. I am also still waiting for an answer, Mr. Trickett, as to where the 1619 project book is placed in the library. It doesn't belong in factual areas. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jeff Janagavo, Lincoln Park, AED donations.
So I just wanted to say, share publicly, when I saw the AED defibrillator donations come up. So I think there were 4 youth sports groups that were involved. I just wanted to say publicly, as a former coach of LPFA, I'm really proud of their donation and their effort. Coached with them for 5 years. I know Coach Brock, who also serves in Spring Township, just loves that program. Has been there for a long, long, long time. And what that program does with I think it's like a 20, maybe 30-foot long storage shed, and that a little concession shed. What they do for the kids in Lincoln Park is fantastic. I know Van Reed, they do great as well. And I think a lot of people kind of look at those two programs as school-supported programs, and they're in fact not. They're just youth programs where parents and community donate. So I just wanted to call out thank you to them. They're a great organization for the kids. They create great football players, one of which we had here tonight, that come up to the high school. And then obviously it's kind of cool with, even though they beat my team in the Super Bowl, Wilson had a proud Super Bowl player retire, I guess, and we celebrated that just this week or last week, Dr. Trickett, right? So just wanted to say that. I felt compelled to say that because I know a whole volunteer organization
often goes without thanks and a lot of effort, and I just wanted to put that out there. So thank you to them, and thank you to those other organizations. I don't know what it all involved, but I know there's a lot of work that goes in at that organization level to raise money and then to donate it back. So thank you to them, and kudos to all the others.
Thank you for your comments. That's the end of public participation for this evening. I'll open the conversation to any board members that have conversation. Mr. Martin?
Yes, I spoke about this maybe about 8 months ago, but it's kind of dear to my heart. It's about financial literacy with our students. And there's a House Bill 647, which I've been following, which has bipartisan support that will require, for school years beginning 25-26, a half a credit in that area. It can be taught in either 9th, 10th, or 11th, or 12th grade. I don't recommend, well, it doesn't matter what I recommend, but 9th and 10th, I'm not sure is the appropriate vehicle for that, but it is something that we should start thinking about, that we're going to have to implement. Now, it hasn't come to vote yet, but it's a House bill, but with the support from both parties, I think it's pretty much going to be approved. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Yes, Danny?
We do have that course. I'm taking it right now. Every week, we have a different assignment. We learn, about financial literacy, mortgages, insurance, taxes, et cetera, so.
That's great. Well, and it's really timely, too. When we were doing our taxes, my children asked, do you learn how to do this in school? And we said, no, you just have to figure it out, or you pay somebody to do it for you. So I'm glad that I can change the answer to them. Yeah. Thank you. Other discussion from the board? Dr. Kennedy?
I would just like to confirm that I am never going to stop talking about books and how important they are in children's lives, and how important it is to get them in all children's hands, and how important reading is, not just as an academic subject, but in growing you as a person who understands yourself and understands others. And I think to suggest that school board members should stop talking about books might have been the most offensive and ridiculous thing I've heard here ever. This is a place of books. Books are the foundation of our learning, and I will always, always support all of our students' choice and opportunity to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Other comments from the board? Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Meeting adjourned.